We're talking baseball with a man of baseball, JP Ricciardi, who is the host of the podcast, The Brushback. You can hear it wherever you listen to podcasts. And he has a ton of experience, over 40 years. He was the GM of the Toronto Blue Jays for 8 years. He has done scouting. He has done coaching. JP, once again, thanks for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. You know what? We talked last time about the trade deadline and what the Sox may do, and you said don't expect any blockbusters, and you were absolutely right. But do you think what they did do is going to help the team at least get through to the wild card?
I think what they did was what a lot of teams are trying to do. They're trying to build as much depth as they can get, and I think they added 2 bullpen pieces, which are going to be able to give them a little bit more security and a little bit more rest in that bullpen, which this time of year is always pretty taxed out. You know, they made a trade for Nick York, the Priestley kid from Pittsburgh. That was more of a future trade. They invested in getting a starting pitcher for them down the road, a 23-year-old with a good arm, who I got to see pitch last week in Worcester. So that was a trade for the future. And I think they've done a lot of little things. I think they've really done a good job of trying to just shore up their bench and trying to fill some holes until some guys, come back from being injured.
I'm sure the trade deadline before like the internet and everything must have been just craziness. I want to let people know that in the latest episode of the Brushback, you talk about the trades and you tell an, I won't give it away, but you tell an amazing story about Johnny Damon and pre-cell phone trade deadline stuff. And I just want to encourage people to listen to that story on the Brushback because it is a hilarious and it's just such an intense story also. But are there any times that it was like last second, any like real blockbusters you were able to pull through that you're really proud of?
Not really blockbusters. I think any of the trades we made they weren't like all of a sudden on the 11th hour we said, oh, we're going to make this trade. They were trades that either were talked about or were being massaged along over the week or 2 weeks leading up to it. So, as far as like pulling the string late, we traded Scott Rowland to the Reds for Edwin Encarnacion, and that came down to the wire only because we had to send something on a fax machine back then, and the fax machine broke. And when the fax machine broke, we only had one fax machine, so we were struggling to find another fax machine. But we ended up getting the deal done. But that was a deal that was probably put together in like three or 4 days. But nothing like at the 11th hour,
What? Now I'm going to go the opposite direction. Were there any real major disappointments?
Well, I think you're disappointed when you're dealing with other organizations and you think you're going down the right path, and then all of a sudden they pull the rug out from under you. I mean, I never worked with an organization or was part of an organization that ever did that to somebody else, but I've been on a part where it was done to us, and that's a little discouraging because you kind of feel like you've got it done. You feel like you're ready to go, and then at the last minute they get cold feet based on whatever. So I've had it done more to me in the clubs I've been with than I have going the other way. The trade deadlines are really, really it's a sketchy time because there's a lot of stuff thrown against the wall, and it ends up becoming, okay, you're actually going to pull the trigger. And that's what it comes down to. So there's a lot of false bravado leading up to the trading deadline, and then the actual trading deadline is who got the guts to pull the trade.
Right. It's would you say similar to, say, like stock trading?
Probably. Yeah. Probably. I think, what the other thing that's changed is there's a lot of newer, younger executives in front offices now, and they're very guarded as to how they do things. And back in the day, there were more gunslingers, the John Sherholtz, the Brian Sabians, the Billy Beans, the Dave Dombrowskis, Kevin Towers. These guys were more gunslingers, and they weren't afraid to make trades. I think the guys today are very, very cautious of who they hold on to and why they hold on to them.
All right. Well, JP Ricciardi, he's a host of the Brushback, and I encourage everyone to listen to the episode about the trade deadline and check out that Johnny Damon story. It's really great.
We got a good one today. We got Kevin Lester, who was part of the movie The Natural, and he basically was the baseball guy who threw batting practice and worked with Robert Redford and dealt with all the behind-the-scenes baseball stuff for The Natural. So he's got some great stories, and he was actually the guy who came up with the Wonder Boy bat. So he's got some great stories. We got him on today.
Wow, that's a great. We talked baseball movies before. That is one of the great ones right there. That's cool. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Yeah, looking forward to that one.
All right, JP Ricciardi. He is the host of the Brushback Podcast. You can find it wherever you listen to podcasts. JP, thank you so much.
All right, Mike. You take care.